Howdy Beans, and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Howdy Beans podcast. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're all good as per usual. Before we get into today's topic, I want to do a bit of housekeeping because I like to keep my house nice and clean. So make sure that you follow me on Twitter at howdybeans_pod. If you listen to this on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And finally, if you listen to this on Spotify on your mobile phone, don't forget to leave a 5-star rating. So today, it is the continuation of my £5 bargain or bin game review series. For anybody who doesn't know what that is a series where I get a game that I've got for £5 or less or for free from car boots, charity shops, or anywhere and everywhere on the Xbox store, and I see if they are worth the cheap sort of bargain price. Would I pay more? Would I pay less? Are they good, or do they just belong in the bin? And that is the idea behind this series for anybody who is new. So today I'm going to be looking at Werewolf the Apocalypse Earthblood from 2021. Yeah, I've got a bit to say about this one already, but I'm going to save it. I'm going to hold off, and I'm going to save it when I talk about my experience with the game in a minute. First of all, I want to talk about the game's plot. So, the setting. So, Earthblood takes place in the American Northwest and is set in the world of darkness, where supernatural beings such as vampires and werewolves secretly struggle for power. The world is ruled by three entities: the Wild, a Catholic, a creative force that creates life and oversees nature, the Weaver, which is tasked to give form to the wild's creativity, organizing Earth, and the Worm, which originally existed as a balancing force between the Wild and the Weaver, originally a force of breakdown and renewal, but which has become like a black hole trying to destroy everything due to how powerful the Weaver has gotten, and which corrupts humans easily. The game focuses on werewolves, known as a Gora. I feel like I'm pronouncing that wrong, whose nation consists of 13 tribes called the Gora Nation, whereas vampires integrate into human societies. Werewolves are recluses and are portrayed as the immune system of the planet, working to protect nature. Different tribes have different views on how to achieve this and how to deal with humanity. For example, the Glasswalkers think that humanity can get out of the environmental problems with the use of technology. The Black Fairies fight for feminism, women's rights, and gender equality. The Bone Gnawers care about social class and fight for economically oppressed people, and the Red Talons would like to wage war against humanity to see who will survive. Due to their varying perspectives, there is a lot of infighting between the tribes. So that is to kind of give you an idea of the setting of what's going on in this game. As for the development, so if I just scroll down, so Werewolf the Apocalypse Earthblood was developed by Cyanide in the game engine Unreal Engine 4, with cooperation from White Wolf Publishing to help make the game stay true to the White Wolf's Werewolf the Apocalypse tabletop role-playing game that Earthblood is based on. The game is directed by Julian Desosos, I can't pronounce your name, sorry mate. Martin Eriksson serving as lead writer. The entire level design team from Cyanide's earlier games, Styx Shards of Darkness, also worked on Earthblood, and there were, according to Julian, a lot of things carrying over from Shards of Darkness into Earthblood, although they had to develop combat from scratch. Prior to the start of development of the game, the developers considered various genres for an adaptation of Werewolf the Apocalypse, such as a brawler or an isometric role-playing game, before deciding on an action role-play game. Early questions they asked that would form the game included: when will you rage? When will you use violence? When will you had enough? And what is the price of changing the world through violence? They wanted to avoid giving out answers considered correct, and wanted to let the player think about it for themselves and come up with the answers. According to Julian, this question of rage management is the main theme of the game. A branching narrative was considered to facilitate the exploration of these questions, but eventually the developers decided on a largely linear story with minor branches. Eriksson described the game as being strongly focused on its narrative and therefore having a defined protagonist and a fixed story with themes such as family, estrangement, cynicism, and idealism. Production of the game began around late 2016, following Paradox Interactive's purchase of White Wolf in 2015. In January 2017, Paradox Interactive AB announced the video games partnership with Focus Home Interactive under the title Werewolf the Apocalypse, the official video game. The game was originally to be published by Focus Home Interactive, but switched publishers to Nacon in 2018. Following Nacon's purchase of Cyanide, it was presented for the first time at E3 2019 in Los Angeles in June 2019 and was exhibited at PDXCon 2019 in October. In June 2019, the game's release title was changed to Werewolf the Apocalypse Earthblood, and then was released in 2021. So that is the development and the release of the game, or at least what I could find. Now, on to give my experience of the game so far. All right, I'm going to start off positive. And again, this is... I have to laugh because I know what I'm going to say. And I've got to laugh at myself because I'm going to start positive, but it's going to sound contradictory. I'm just going to say it. So if you listen to my review, my last £5 bargain or bin review, at the very end, I mentioned that I was going to look into this game. After that was the Stubbs the Zombie review. And in that, I basically mentioned that one of the biggest criticisms that I heard about this game was that everybody says it plays like an Xbox 360 game. Now, me being me, and somebody who still owns a 360 and actually went out and bought one, I think it was last year or the year before, and still plays on it and still loves it, and who's actually going out and buying and collecting Xbox 360 games, to me that just rang really good positive bells of like, look, I'm more than happy to play an Xbox 360 feelings like game on a next gen system. That's fine because again, I love backwards compatibility. I play a lot of older games on my Xbox Series X anyway, so again, I was looking forward to that feeling. It didn't seem like a negative or bad thing to me. And then I started playing the game, and I gotta laugh. This game is made in Unreal 4, but I asked the question, where? And the reason I say that is the fact of it feels like it not only plays like, but it also feels like a game that came out during the Xbox 360 era, but this is a remaster. And now if that was the case, I'd be more lenient. I'd be a lot more positive. I'd be, you know what, it's a remaster. It looks somewhat better, but it's still a 360 game. Whereas I've got the Xbox Series X version, and I ask the question again, where is the next gen? It doesn't look next gen. It doesn't feel next gen. It feels very much last gen. And again, this game did come out on Xbox One as well. But even if I played on Xbox One, I'd still think this was the gen before that. I still think this was the 360, which isn't a bad thing. Again, because I play old games a lot. So again, that's not a negative. Again, the last £5 bargain or bin review I did was Stubbs the Zombie, and that was a remaster. And I actually had a ball with that game. I actually enjoyed myself there. So it was strange coming into this one where I was expecting next-gen graphics. It's meant to be gory. It's meant to be visceral. I'm meant to be ripping people to shreds as a werewolf. But again, it's that fact of I'm playing it and I'm like, something feels very uncanny valley here. Something feels off. And then it clicked. I was like, this, like the models, like the textures are somewhat good at times, but the way the characters moves around and the way the game plays, like it feels very like an Xbox 360 game, and then it's then you get to the gameplay, and yeah, it does. And I think this is a bit of a saving grace for it for me is the fact of with the gameplay, I'm playing as a werewolf, which is great. I love werewolves. Werewolves are my favorite. If I had to choose between werewolves and vampires, werewolves would win all day, every day. I think they're incredible. And I get to play as one, and I get to rip people to shreds, and it is quite visceral. But at the same stage, like okay, there's blood, but there's not what I was expecting. Like I'm not saying I want balls to the wall, like Blade, the beginning of Blade with blood everywhere. Like that'd be awesome. But I'm not saying that. I'm more explaining the fact of if I'm going to grab somebody, I'm going to execute them. I want to see rip and tear. I want to be able to grab them in my hands and rip them apart my teeth or with my hands, and then see two halves of a body, being one half of the body thrown this way, one half of the body thrown that way. Again, Stubbs the Zombie, old game from 2005. I could rip guys' arms off and whack them with them. You know what I mean? I could throw intestines at them and it blows up. You know what I mean? Like, even though that was a 2005 game, every time I hit somebody, blood would skirt out. If I was eating somebody's brains, you'd get a spurt of blood that would come out the top and would coat the surroundings with blood. Again, game from 2005 can do it. Game from 2021, years later, struggles to do it. Like, there's blood splatters, but like there's no body bits. There's no what you'd expect. Like, if I've got sharp claws, I should be able to rip and tear. Again, akin to, say, X-Men Wolverine Origins, the game. You know, that when Wolverine went mad, when he ripped and teared, you saw the body bits. There was gore, but, you know, really visceral. You don't get that here. You know, so again, I love it, the combat, but at the same stage, it's one of those where it's like, it's not what I was hoping for. You know, I was expecting, because when the game starts like, it starts like an advert. It starts with a trailer, then you press play, then you've got this another long sort of trailer sort of introduction. I'm like, you don't need to impress me. I already bought the game. Let me play it. And then again, it's rock and roll and it's hardcore, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whoa, this is awesome. And then you start playing the game, and you're like, okay, it's cool. Okay, it doesn't look very next gen, but that's fine. I get to play as a werewolf, and I'm ripping and tearing. And I can't believe I'm about to say this, but it's true. I've gotten to the point in the game where it's getting boring. And I can't believe I'm saying it. Not overly boring, but it's one of those where it's like, the game has a stealth mechanic. And again, I'm going into a full-on review already. But I can't help it. I've got, like, I haven't completed the game yet. I'm only, I think 3 missions in, 4 maybe, possibly. I don't know. I've lost count. But like, there's a stealth section in this game. Why you would stealth, I don't know. But you've got the stealthy bits, and with that stealth, you can take down enemies. But if you get caught, they all just attack you anyway. Everybody knows where you are. So then you just turn into a werewolf. And it makes you wonder, like, why did I bother doing stealth in the first place? I could have easily just gone to werewolf, killed everybody. And in some parts you can kill everybody in a matter of seconds. And then that's it. You morph back into a man, and then you're running around from to the next point, and then you get to the next room. And each room is basically a mini arena if you are not able to sneak around. You know, and it was getting boring because it gets to the point where it gets just tedious. How you dodge out the way, you hit, you do a dodge. They fire silver bullets. Then you go back in and hit, and then you get these upgrade abilities, and you can upgrade things, and you can leap on enemies. Or you can do like a howl that like stuns enemies. And it's one of those, like, because I was looking at the achievements. And there was a point in the achievements, and this is why I love Xbox, is because you can see how far people got into a game and how many people completed and how many didn't. And you can see there's a huge correlation of many people doing the first few levels, and then you got the last few missions where people, like, they got rare. It really dropped off where, like, everybody was getting these achievements who bought the game, but only a few people actually bothered to stay to complete it. And I think I know why. It's because, as of now, I'm getting bored even being a werewolf. That, to me, is a travesty. I should not be bored, or at least feel very tedious of going, oh, I'm in another room, all right, transform into a werewolf, oh, big scar, okay, slash, dodge, slash, oh, I've killed everybody, oh, go figures. Okay, human now, okay, we're on to the next bit, press the button, oh, press button, next room, oh, I'm sneaking around, oh, take down, oh, you see me, oh, werewolf, okay, but you know, it's monotonous, it's a shame. It really is. And again, coming off Stubbs a zombie, and again, I have to that word. Say this word again, is the fact of that game came out in 2005. Granted, I'm playing a remaster, but all the remaster did was just make it a bit more prettier. That was it. Apart from that, it's still the same game. And even then, that game could do better in gore, in combat, in everything, and was more fun and was shorter. That game, you could complete that in 2 hours, and I almost did, right? And I still had a ball, and I still actually have, since doing that review, gone back and played on high difficulty just for the crack of it, because I enjoyed myself so much. This game is definitely one of them games where, like, I don't know whoever, I'm not that far in, but I don't want to do my first full impressions already, because again, I've got a review to come, and this is just my experience with the game so far. But you can tell that I'm not overly positive, and I'm not looking forward to completing it, but I will for the review. And I'm kind of having to pull myself back now. But it just gets me how a 2005 game did it better than a 2021 game, which is a shame. But I'm going to hold back because if I go too far, then I'm going to basically give the whole review too early. But you can already basically tell how I feel about this game so far. But it might surprise me. It might do. Again, I go into everything with a glass empty. Granted, my glass is mostly full at this point. I know how this game is and what it's going to be for the rest of it. I have a good idea of what this game's going to be and how it's going to play out. But it might surprise me. It might throw in a curveball. It might. It might. I don't think it will, but it might. You know what I mean? So yeah, we will see. We're gonna, yeah. As you can tell, my voice. I'm not very hopeful, but I'm trying to be positive. So I'm going to go off and finish this game, and then when I come back, we'll see if it's improved or not. I doubt it again, but again, I'm trying to be positive. So I'm going to go in positive, and we'll see. Okay, I'm going now. Right, so I've not long finished this game. I'll go straight into it. In my first impressions, I didn't enjoy it. I didn't. There's no other way to cut the cheese. To be honest, I've just got to be straight and be honest and say it wasn't. It's not. It's not terrible. It isn't. I've played worse. It's just very mid. It's very middle of the road. It's yeah, and I don't have to say it's about sounding hypocritical, but it does feel like an Xbox 360 game, but not one of the good ones. Like it's all right for maybe an hour or two when you first start playing it, but eventually when you realise that it's very repetitive, very linear, very sort of basic in what it is and how it looks, that if you can, like what I ended up doing, to be honest, I didn't pay much attention to the story after a while because I just couldn't get invested in any of the story and the characters. Really, I just ended up putting YouTube videos on that I had to catch up with, or podcasts I had to listen to, and I ended up focusing more of them and use them as background noise, just something to listen to, while I just blasted through the game. To be honest, and I know that's not very fair, to be honest. As somebody who reviews games, it's not fair to skip and to kind of not really pay attention to the story. But at the end of the day, it is one of these things of like, if you're not fully invested in something, and that's not because you don't want to be, it's because the game or the movie or whatever it is hasn't sucked you in. It is one of those of like, you either stop playing or you just play for something to do, you know. And for me, I kept playing because I was doing this review. But I'll be honest, if this was just me playing it, I probably it would have took me longer to complete, because it would have been a game that I'd play a bit, I put down, I go play something else, come back to this one when I just wanted something to do, something to kind of pass the time, listen to an audiobook, blah, blah, blah. And then, play for a bit. Well, I'm going to put it down and then I'm going to go pick something else up, and that's how I felt with this game. It feels very much like a 360 game, which again doesn't bother me, but it feels like a remaster of a 360 game. It feels like a remaster of a game from the 360 era, but the early 360 era. It feels, it doesn't feel as next gen as it should do. Like, it doesn't look next gen. It doesn't feel next gen. My overall impressions are, it's a game about being a werewolf, but I didn't feel like being a werewolf was cool. At first, I did. My first coming into it, playing as a werewolf, I thought it was awesome. I thought it was sick. It was freaking cool. This idea that you've got heavy metal and you're a werewolf and you're ripping and you're tearing, absolutely brilliant. Loved it. But then the story kind of kicks in and it goes on, and it trying to get me invested in a story with the main character, which I'll be honest, I can't remember his name, and even if I could, I don't think I could pronounce it, to be honest. And that's just because I'm dyslexic, but also because it's not a very memorable character. Basically, it's an old character that he's in a so basically the idea of this. I'm going to jump straight into the story because there's no other way of me doing it. basically, the whole story of this, as I mentioned in the introduction, is that you have different tribes, and you've got the werewolves, and the werewolves are recluse. They all sort of live in a pack, basically, kind of like wolves do. And their whole sort of stick is that we are the guardians of Earth, that we look after the Earth, and we stop people from cutting down trees and polluting the planet, and X, Y, and Z. And all very sort of humble, sort of, shall we say, creeds, things that they follow. And again, being somebody who loves the environment and, is very much against people trying to harm it, that's what kind of pulled me in, as well as obviously the Xbox 360 thing, and that it feels like a 360 game. That was the initial thing that pulled me in. It was like, oh, you've got werewolves, you've got me. You've got heavy rock, got me. You've got it that feels like an Xbox 360 game, you've got me. You had me by a string. You could have done anything. You could have jangled keys in my face, and I would have been happy. You know what I mean? Like, I was that sucked in to everything that this game is, that it shouldn't have mattered what they did or how the game was. The dangling of the keys of all those things should have been enough, but it wasn't, you know. And with this story, it's like, okay, that's cool, but then it changes to like, basically the main character, he goes on to sort of kind of take down a factory of this big sort of giant evil corporation that pretends to be good and green, but really they're polluting the planet and being a very evil corporation. And he goes rogue, and he can't control his rage, and he ends up killing one of the people in his tribe. And again, really cool, really interesting. I'm like, okay, where's this going to go? This idea of, is this going to be a main factor in the story? Is this going to be the whole point of the choice and consequence? This whole idea of the main character can't control their temper, can't control the rage, and that can you make choices in the game of like, can you go the evil route of like, oh, let your rage explode and take control, and you can go down the evil route, or can you go down the good route of where you can kind of control your rage and be a good werewolf, or that sort of thing. Obviously, I'm giving this game too much credit because that doesn't exist in this game at all. But that's what I was leading to and thinking. It turns out what really is the story is the fact of he goes rogue. He gets thrown out of his he kind of leaves, leaves his sort of herd, his group. And then he comes back years later, where his sister now doesn't. I mean, not his sister, sorry. His daughter, sorry, does not like him, which again for obvious reasons because he abandoned her. And then he kind of spends the story trying to prove to her and to sort of his group, really, his pack, that he's worthy and that he's meant to be there. And then only for her to kind of not believe him, for her to go off on her own to kind of help, like, take down this evil corporation. She gets captured, and then he's got to go save her. And then you get a basic. I'm going to spoil it. You get a choice at the end of the game of either go after the big bad guy, chase after him, and defeat him, or whatever, or you can go and save your daughter and save your tribe. And that's what it leads to. But when I realized this, when I got a little bit way into the story and I realized this, I lost all interest because I thought, you had me by the string. You could have done anything. You literally could have gone the route, as I mentioned, the whole good and evil, the whole idea of, can you control your rage? Can you not? This whole idea, this primeval sort of urge inside of you. That would have been awesome, even if it wasn't fully implemented, where it wasn't as awesome as making it sound. It was basically a good and evil choice, or this idea of riding the line between good and evil, of letting the beast consume you, and not. That would have been that would have been awesome. That would have been cool, even if it wasn't as big as grand as I'm making it out to be. It still would have been better than what we got. And that's the thing, because I wasn't brought into the story. All that was left really was the gameplay. And the issue being is the fact of, at first, the gameplay is awesome. It's cool because, of course, it is. Because, again, you're a giant werewolf and you're hacking and slashing humans, basically. And it's cool. It's freaking wicked. Granted, as I mentioned, there's not as much gore as I would have hoped for. And there is some blood splatters, but again, it's nothing extreme, sadly. They could have gone the whole hog, but they didn't for some unknown reason. But still, at first, it's cool. But when you realize after a while that you get these upgrades and you don't feel stronger. You've got new abilities, but you don't feel as if the standard enemies that you first meet are weaker the longer you play, they feel exactly the same. They are everybody is a I say bullet sponge. Should I say claw sponge? Really, you can hack and slash the same enemies in the first level and the very end, and it takes just as many hits to kill them, basically. And this is why you use your abilities. And again, don't be wrong, the abilities are cool. You've got ability where you've got different stances. You've got the agility stance where you're a lot quicker with your slashes and you can dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. Again, really cool, awesome. And fair. And then you've got your heavy stance, which is you're a lot slower, but you kind of like beef up a bit, and you do slow attacks, but you do more damage, right? And each one of these stances have different abilities, which again, fine, cool. The issue is you rely on them so much because you realize that the whole hack and slash, the standard attacks of light attack with pressing X or heavy attack pressing Y, don't really do anything. It is like it is. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It'd be like Wolverine with his adamantium claws, but instead of going through metal, he's just hitting it, and it eventually go through. But it's not. It's taken a lot longer than it should. It should take one swipe and they're done for, not multiple hits and then he goes through. Again, because he's Wolverine, adamantium claws, they go through anything. It should be the same idea and same concept. You've got razor sharp claws. You're a werewolf. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, okay. You could explain the fact of, you haven't turned or whatever in a long time. Again, they could do something with the story, and then they could explain, you haven't turned for a long time. So you're not as strong as a week, but you'll get your abilities back. You'll get strong back, or maybe like at the beginning of the story, you get infused with like an injection of silver, and that's weakened you. So you've got to build yourself back up. Again, I'm just spitballing here. I'm just throwing ideas out into the ether. You know what I mean? That are just coming to me out of my head right now. Again, different things they could have done, and that could have explained. When you first few hits to the standard enemies, that's why you're not really ripping and tearing. That's why you're not really. It's taking a few hits to take them out. But by the end of the game, I want to be able to just one hit these minions and bitch slap them basically across the room and rip them in shreds. I shouldn't have to constantly button mash. Oh, I've killed him. Okay, next guy. Button mash, push mash. Ability, button mash, push mash. And then, I've hit them enough. Now I can do a frenzy mode, which is I just go crazy and slash and just really quick, high damage things. And this is, again, the repetitive boringness about it is the fact of, you get upgrades, but you don't feel like you've upgraded. You don't feel stronger. You just feel like you've got more abilities, but you just don't feel more. You don't feel more capable. You just feel like, okay, I've got a new ability. All right, you know what I mean. And then once you've started killing, you've got used to killing sort of human enemies. Then they throw in exosuits, which kind of makes a bit more of a challenge because you've got to dodge them a bit more because they do a bit more damage. But again, when you realize that you could just like do a pounce at them and do that 2 or 3 times, and then you could just destroy them, and then you back away as they explode. Again, it's like, oh, okay, it's a bit of a bummer. And then out of nowhere, again, it does explain it in the story because I was paying a bit of attention. Out of nowhere, the main bad guy, the worm, he's kind of like I would imagine. I was listening, but I wasn't listening. If that makes sense, he's like I would assume like a parasitic sort of god or sort of evil sort of spirit or whatever has taken over this company. And then next thing I know, I'm fighting xenomorphs. Not xenomorphs. What they called from Dead Space. I should know this because I'm a Dead Space fan. Oh, Exo. Anyway, necromorphs. Sorry, I'm fighting necromorphs. Literally, not even blatantly. Almost, I would say, near identical to necromorphs in this game. It went from I'm still fighting humans, but then it gets even more repetitive and more annoying because the fact that I've just spent ages button mashing, killing all these humans. And then I'm expecting, because when you go to, when you're in an arena, you go into an arena and you kill everything, and you're like, okay. And at the end of it, the guy would transform back from being a werewolf into a human, and then you carry on into the next arena, basically. But it at first it didn't change. I'm like, okay, why are you not changing for? And then all of a sudden, the enemies I've just spent ages button mashing are now reviving themselves, but as grotesque necromorphs, and it's like, for God's, and then I've got to do the whole process all over again. And some of them have special abilities, and it's like, God's sake. And it's just that one of the things of like, this is not fun. This is annoying. Okay, granted, you've gone as far as bringing a new enemy type in, but because the game is so repetitive, it's one of those where it's like I don't want to have to keep button mashing the same enemies over and over again. Just because you put a new skin on them and then you've given one or two fancy new gizmos doesn't really make it new. It just makes it annoying, And you like I even mentioned in the introduction, there's a whole stealth thing, but when you realize that you can just any moment just go werewolf, why would you do stealth? The funny thing was that I quickly realized that I couldn't be asked to go werewolf in a werewolf game. I love werewolves. I've said it multiple times. I'm going to keep saying it. I love werewolves. I didn't want a werewolf because it was repetitive. So I actually, as best as I could, as many times as I could, if without getting caught, snuck around. Because again, you go in these little, like I said, you know what they're like. They're all these big areas that are just built. You know that if you've played enough video games, you know this is an arena to fight in. It's big enough to fight in and leap around, right? And it's one of those where it was like, I don't want to be a werewolf. So I would. You have ability. If you press B, you can turn into a normal wolf basically, and you can use that to sneak around. And it's not as easily seen as it just walking around as a human. And that's what I did. I would run around, and then you get given a crossbow, and you can headshot enemies, or you can like knock out cameras. But again, it was one of those where it was like I do my best to sneak around, and if I can get round not fighting a big group of enemies, because I know it was going to take the piss. I know it's going to be one of those really tedious things. It's going to take a really long time and to get through them all. If I can dodge that, I will, which it should be completely besides the point of this game. It should be every time you get given the chance to go werewolf, you go werewolf. That should be it. It should be like the game should be like, look, at any moment, go werewolf, and you can. But it should be fun. You should want to go werewolf. You shouldn't have to be like, I don't want to go werewolf. In a werewolf game, you should want to. This is what confused me, And by the end of the game, when I'm on the last level, there were many moments where I was like, I'm just going to skip this, skip it, skip. Okay, they've caught me. All right, werewolf. All right, hit. But kill things. All right, fine. All right, now all right. Next area. Okay, I'm going to try and sneak. Okay, I snuck through. Well done. It was one of those of like I just wanted to get to skirt around as many of the enemies as possible without being seen. You could say I'm rushing through it, but it was one of those where it was just like I just wasn't interested. It's a shame. It really is. Like when the story really lets you down, and you're stuck with the gameplay, and the gameplay lets you down. It's one of those of like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. You had everything. You had everything to pull me in. Literally, you jangled the keys in front of my face. You didn't have to do a lot, but what you did wasn't it. I don't get it. I just don't, And going on to sort of the art style, this game is made in Unreal Engine 4, which again is a very powerful engine. I've played a lot of games in Unreal 4, and they look gorgeous, and they look next gen. And even now, you play a lot of Unreal 4 engine games, and they look spectacular and beautiful, especially when you have a team who knows how to use those engines and knows what they're doing with them. You can make some very beautiful games. But again, I was playing on the Xbox Series X enhanced version, the next gen version. I many times I'd stop and I'd look around, but I don't see the Unreal. I don't feel Unreal. The whole point of Unreal is, oh God, that's Unreal. Hence the name. You know what I mean? Like when I first played Gears of War on the Xbox 360, this is Unreal. I've never seen a game like this before. This is biblical. This is incredible. I'm not comparing them. I'm just saying the whole point of the Unreal Engine is to push boundaries, is to be a powerful engine so you can do a lot more. I didn't feel like it was used here at all. It just felt like they used the engine, but they didn't use it to its full potential. Because like it was strange. The character models looked really basic. The only thing that really looked cool and played well was when you was a werewolf. The werewolf did look cool, to be honest. And the animations were quite smooth, and I'll admit. But when you looked at the level design, when you looked at the skyboxes, when you looked at the textures, and you look at everything, you look around and you're thinking, I don't see Unreal. I know it is. I just don't see it. And it's very strange. Like I said, it feels like a 360 game that came out during the 360 era and that has been remastered and repackaged and resold in a modern console. And it's got a few more extra sort of bells and whistles, so it looks a little bit nicer than it did originally, but it's a 360 game. But this isn't. It's from 2021, Unreal 4. It's meant it should at least look gorgeous, but it doesn't. And it's very strange. I can't explain it because the cutscenes, when they do cutscenes, are gorgeous. They're absolutely wonderful. Like I said, when you first play this game, when you first put it on, you get a intro sort of trailer. Then you press start, and then you get another one. Both of them are really, really beautiful, and it really pulls you in. You really demonic looking, evil looking werewolves, and looks freaking awesome. And there's wolves running about through forests, and there's Ivy Rock, and really cool. And it really pulls you in. Like again, I was sold the first time I put it on. I was like, oh yeah, and then you and then you play the game. And you're like, this isn't what I saw. This isn't what was advertised. This makes no sense. But okay. And then it goes to a cutscene, and you're like, oh, that's what I saw in the intro. That because like obviously they're pre-rendered sort of cutscenes and pre-animated ones, so they're not in-game cutscenes. But again, you do get some of them, but they're not really cutscenes. They're just kind of like where the camera just focuses on two people talking. But you got these pre-rendered cutscenes. Again, feels very 360 era because the 360 did a lot of pre-rendered cutscenes, and like, okay, that looks really, really cool. But I don't see that in the game. I would like again, you're using Unreal Engine. That engine has the capability to do in-game cutscenes. Why didn't you do them? You even if they didn't look as good as the pre-rendered ones, you still could have done them because that would have been awesome to see my character in actual real time do those things that I saw him do in the cutscene. It would have been interesting, but again, they didn't. So I don't know. With the art style, I like the look of the werewolf. I'll say that it does look cool, but at the same time, everything else kind of lets it down. And it is one of those. Many times I sat there and I just was like, I just don't see where the Unreal Engine is. I know it's here because again, every time you boot the game up, it says made in Unreal, but I'm like, but where? I don't know. I really don't. There are collectibles, to be honest, but I wouldn't really class them as collectibles. You've got these spirits that you've got to find. They are found in plants. So around the levels, you will find plants that you can go up to and that you can kind of like I don't know. I think you suck up or you just kind of embrace the spirit. I'm not really sure what you do too much. You press Y and he goes. It's like he breathes in the plant basically, and that gives you XP, which will level you up if you collect enough of them. There are also notes like logs hidden around the levels, which I read a few of them. But again, as I mentioned, because the story lost me, I looked at them just for the achievement, basically. If you read 30 of them, you get an achievement, and that's it. You don't even need to read all of them, just need to read 30, and that's it. And I didn't even, every time I found one, I'm like, yep, click that, didn't read, just too busy, didn't read, sort of skipped and moved on. And that kind of moves me on to my overall thoughts. This game, if you are looking for a game just to kind of waste time, just to play in the background, to pass time while you're listening to a podcast or listen to an audiobook, or you're listening to some music, or you just, again, generally just want to pass time, okay, fine. Or if you are somebody who's on the Xbox who wants to achievement hunt, again, easy. You can get really a lot of easy game scoring achievements here just by going through the game and doing a lot of the things that the game tells you to do, like shoot 5 cameras. Again, you'd probably never do it again. Find 30 notes, kill 250 enemies. Only 250 you need to kill. I think you get 50 to 90 gamer score. You know what I mean? But after that, it stops tracking it. It's one of those where it's like, I don't know, did they give up with the achievements or what? But either way, you can get a lot of easy gamer score here just by doing the bare minimum. and completing the game. And even if you're on PlayStation, if you're looking for trophies as well, by all means, it's an easy one to get. And yeah, my overall thoughts are, before I sort of come to my final sort of verdicts of if it's worth the entry fee or not, is that this game, believe it or not, isn't terrible. It had the opportunity to be more, but it never goes any further. It goes very rudimentary. And again, I hate to say it, because I'm sure the team behind it had a lot of love, put a lot of time into it. And again, I say it about movies all the time, and it's the truth with video games. I don't believe people go out to make a bad movie. Same with video game. I don't believe people generally try to make a bad game. Sometimes what looks good on paper doesn't always translate when on screen, or when is being played on a console or PC. It all depends, again, how crunch and time and money and producers and blah blah blah, people in the background. So it's a number of things, but I'd never believe that people go out to make a bad game. But it just feels, with this game, it feels like they had the world in their hands. They had this universe. They had werewolves and heavy rock, and they had so much capability and possibility of what they could do. And like I said, jangling the keys in front of me, I was their target audience. They had everything in there that attracted me. I was a magpie. I flew in. I was interested. I was happy to roost and nest. But they dropped the ball. It's a shame. It really is. I went into this being very excited and was left downhearted, because like I said, werewolves are my favorite. You don't see many werewolves games, and you most definitely don't see many hack and slash games nowadays, especially hack and slash werewolves games. I can't think of any at the top of my head. Like, the only one I could ever comes to mind of the last best good one was the Xbox 360 version of X-Men Wolverine Origins. That was the last great one, and there's a reason why it's so high regarded and loved, because it is a fantastic game, as well as a fantastic hack and slash, and it's it is the best X-Men game, really. That's, again, in my opinion. And that's the only one I could think of, and that was a long time ago, from the 360 days. So to play this now, to have everything that I've ever wanted, but then not to get it, I just feel disappointed. I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed at the end of the day. And I feel like going sort of into my £5 or entry fee, is it worth it or not? It's not. Even at a sales price, it would only really be worth it if you want to pass the time and if you want an achievement hunt. Apart from that, I couldn't sit here wholeheartedly and say, yeah, go buy it if it's on sale. Do not buy it full price. Don't do it, really. And don't buy it if it's on sale. Only really do it if you generally have nothing else to play and you're happy just to put something on and blast through it for the achievements. But, focus on a podcast, on my podcast, maybe on other people's podcasts, or like listen to music or catch up with YouTube videos or whatever it is. Do this and then do something else at the same time. Don't put your full attention into it, because I don't think it's worth it. So overall, it's not worth the sale price. It's not worth full price. It's only worth it, really, to pass the time. And it's a shame, because I've never actually come to a conclusion like that on this series. This is the first time I've actually come to that conclusion, where it's not worth a sale. It's not worth the full price. It's not worth the bin either, because I wouldn't say bin it off. I would say put it on the side. Put it next to the bin. It's close to going into the bin, really close to going into the bin. And maybe because I'm more close to the bin for me, because I'm really, really butthurt because it had everything and it just failed. Maybe that's why I'm closer to the bin. But I wouldn't stick it fully in the bin, just like close to it, because I'd love to see this genre again, but done better. I want the gore. I want the ripping and the tearing. I want the next gen sort of experience. I want to be a werewolf. I want to experience what that's like. I want the choice and consequence, of like, choosing the dark side, choosing the light side, letting the rage take over, the beast within, or do I not choose it? Can I make multiple choices? Can I be good, choose a few good choices, then choose a bad choices? How does that affect the story? If I'm going to do upgrades, have the upgrades and actually not just the abilities, but as I upgrade and get stronger, I can take on those weaker enemies, and they're like tissue paper. I can just slap them up and just destroy them, and then I can then focus on the more like it's like playing Doom. When you first play it, the minion creatures, you've got a pistol. They pose a little bit of a threat, but they're not really you're not really a danger to you. And it's when you get on to the end of the game where those little minions, they're literally just cannon fodder for ammo. Really, that's all they really are. You don't need to focus on them; they're just there as a thing, as a unit, really. And your main focus is the big bugger in front of you. That should be the whole point of it. Is the fact of I've got a big exo in front of me, and I'm surrounded by xenomorph sort of alien creatures or whatever. They're the big bad. That's what I should be focusing on. You're just there as cannon fodder, and that's fine. But it wasn't. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm waffling. I am. I know I am. So I'm just going to wrap it up and say, don't buy it on sale or at full price. It's not worth it. Yeah, it's a shame. It really is. Anyway, that is my thoughts on Werewolf the Apocalypse, Earth Blood. I don't know what is going to come next. I haven't really planned that far. I'm still looking for a game that's on games on sale on the Xbox store, so I haven't actually bought any yet. I do have an idea for one, but it's a game I don't really want to play on my own. It's a newish game. It's a game that came out and was not what I expected by anybody. And it flopped. Well, yeah, it flopped. Yeah, it did. It just basically destroyed a really beloved studio. And I think recently their final season came out and completely flopped, and people hated it. And it was a bad decision. And it's one of those where, again, I'm curious because it was on sale. So I bought it during Christmas. I bought the £100 version. Not I didn't spend £100. No. It was £100 originally, but it was on sale for about £4 something. So I bought it out of curiosity. But again, that curiosity only goes so far because I'm interested, but I'm not interested to play it on my own. So I'm going to see if I can convince my brother or my friend to play through it with me. I think it'd be interesting now that the dust has settled. Now that it's kind of it's dead, basically. It's slowly dying. It'd be interesting to kind of look into that game now the dust has settled and kind of give my thoughts and feelings on it. I'm not going to hint at what it is, but if you know your video games and video game news, you will definitely know what I'm talking about or have some sort of inkling. But yeah, that won't be coming for a while, but I've got other video game things to come, and I've got other topics that I want to look into. So don't despair. More things will be coming from me. Hopefully a lot more lighthearted and less sort of bummed out than I am here with this episode. But, win some, lose some. Tomato, Ray Romano. You know what I mean? Like, you never know what you're going to get with these things. So that's the joys of podcasting. But thank you very much for joining me. I have been your host, Luke the Human. You've been listening to the Howdy Beans podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure and a joy to talk to you today, tonight, this evening, whenever you're hearing this episode. I hope you check out more episodes like this or episodes that I've done in the past, or even ones I do in the future. But to make sure that you're up to date with the ones that I do in the future, make sure that you follow me on Twitter at howdybeans_pod. Make sure also, if you listen to this on YouTube, that you like, comment, and subscribe. I want to hear your thoughts. If you played this game, let me know what you think down below. And if you listen to this on Spotify, make sure to follow me on Spotify. And make sure to leave a 5-star rating. So, thank you much for listening. I'm going to go off now and just literally just relax because this game has really bummed me out, and I really need to take time out and chill out and just to recalibrate because I'm that sort of deflated. So, Thank you much for joining me, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye bye.